started trying to talk to me about, oh, my ex is a lesbian and a heroin and I can't even remember all this stuff, but you know, he had pictures of his girlfriend's pussy on his phone. He wanted me to look at here. I was like, no, I don't want to see it. It was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you don't talk about this stuff with people. What the fuck is wrong with you? And he kept trying to, it was funny because he had a voice like Gomer Pyle. It was real slow and drawn out, and it was real down home and southern, real slow drawl. And he liked Bon Jovi, and he liked all the rock and roll from the 80s, and he just looked completely different from the way that he spoke. So it was kind of a trip. Anyway, we got to Olive Branch, Mississippi, and all of a sudden he starts talking about how this couple wanted him to do a three-way in their truck, and they invited him over to watch a movie, and they told him that they wanted him to have sex with the wife, and that he should be in the porno movies and all. And again, I'm just sitting there like, what do you say? What am I supposed to say? Don't talk to you. You got two things you can do. You know, like, I am not shy to tell somebody to shut their fucking mouth. I'm not. But when you are in a truck in this small a space, you can provoke somebody to the point of no return. So sometimes you need to bite your lip. What am I supposed to say, though? This guy, all he wants to talk about is how big his dick is and how he should be in porno movies. Like, what do you say to that? Oh, that's good for you. Or, really? Or, I don't believe it. Or, can you show me? Or, I mean, you know, what the fuck is the reply to that? It's just a no-win. It's a no-win conversation as far as I'm concerned. So, I just was quiet, and he finally was like, "You don't want to talk about this," and I said, I just don't really see why it's my business to know about this. It makes me uncomfortable to talk about this. That was my nice way to say, "You're a stupid fucking asshole." I said, "It makes me uncomfortable when you talk about this. I'd like to change the subject." Okay? But in my head, I'm going, but, you know, you gotta be diplomatic sometimes. So, this keeps going on. And I hadn't told any. I didn't tell Tony. You know, he was just texting me saying what's going on. By the time we got to, the load we were on was going to California. By the time we got to Texas, he was starting to be very persistent about my ex-boyfriend. And I didn't want to talk about my ex-boyfriend because it was a very painful subject to me. I left my ex-boyfriend many times and went back many times. And the last time that I left him, I didn't even tell him I left town. I just left. And it was very painful for me. It was a topic that was just very much raw nerves. He was just too curious, and he wanted to know about him, and he wanted to, it wasn't his business. He kept wanting to tell me about his exes, and I didn't want to know about his exes either, but he kept telling me about their drug problems, about their sex problems, about this, about that, about they did this to him, they did that to him. I'm not his psychoanalyst, and he's not mine. Those were his personal issues. So he couldn't seem to understand that. And the more I didn't talk, the more he did talk. And the more that, if I would say, I just don't think that we should be talking about this. It's not professional. It's not professional for us to be talking about this. He would kind of be quiet for a while, and then he would be like, "You're right. You're right. I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. You know, you deserve to get treated better. I hope that you will take my apology. I hope you will accept my apology to you." And he was really a nice apologizer. Unfortunately, 10 hours later, he would do the same thing all over again. It was really getting to be wearing me out by the 4th day. And I did reveal that my boyfriend was a cowboy. So then all of a sudden he was a cowboy. And he just happened to be a cowboy. I never told him what color my boyfriend. He was very curious to find out about my boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, what color he was, how big he, you know, all of this stuff. I was intentionally vague because it was like opening a can of worms. As soon as you say one thing, they keep going and going and going. And it's like, do you not understand? My life is not your business. We won't be associating after this week. What part of that do you not understand that I am telling you? Was getting, you know, more intense. By the time we got to the desert in New Mexico, I went to take a shower, and I went to take a shower, and when I got out, he had deliberately moved the truck where I couldn't find it. So I'm wandering all around looking for the truck. But I didn't say anything, you know. And he just looked like he was really upset. And he says to me, he goes, "I don't like the way your hair looks. You need to go back in and put some oil on it." And I was like, who the fuck are you? That you don't... Fuck off. I'm not your fucking bitch. You don't fucking tell me how to fix my hair, motherfucker. I told him that. I don't know what was going on in this guy's head. Now, then the other thing is, this guy was about the age of my daughter. So, you know, and he was just... Whatever was going on with him was that he was just trying to intimidate, you know, and he was going... Sometimes he would be like, "You remind me of my stepmom or my aunt or somebody in his family, and she's just like you, and I just, all this, you know," and I'd be like, "That's nice, thank you, you know." But then it would be this personality that we just met, and it was just flip-flopping. By this time, I told Tony what was going on, and Tony was like, "Get off the truck, get off the truck." It was getting more intense, where he was he was getting frustrated with me because I wouldn't tell him about my sex life. And he wanted a reaction from me. He wanted something from me to validate that I found him attractive. But I didn't see how that would be healthy at all for me to get into this conversation with him, because he was too persistent. I started texting Tony and my other friends, and they all guys, and they were like, "Get off the truck, get off the truck." Every text, "Get off the truck, get off now, get off now, get off now." I was like, I can't get off now because I'm in the middle of the desert. So I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to just ride this thing out. The next time he came out of the sleeper, and he doesn't have a name in my story. I didn't name him in the story. during all this time, he keeps talking about when he's going to be a trainer. Because remember, he was supposed to go back to get into trainer school as soon as he got done with this week with me and had his home time with his son. So, when he's doing all these things in the back of my head, I'm going, oh my God, I would hate to have him for a trainer. Because the way that he was doing was, even though he was helping me with some parking stuff, and he was like, he told me about an instance where he parked on a soft shoulder and the tire sunk and he had to get a tow truck. That helped. I was like, oh shit. Note to self, never park on soft shoulder. He helped me with a couple of things like that. But he kept having all these other little weirdness things, and he was telling me that he had gotten fired for some jobs because of having girls on the truck and whatever they were doing on the truck, and it was real kind of not really sure what was going on there. So, you know, when he was having these outbursts, I was thinking to myself, God dang, he's going to be somebody's trainer sometime? Yikes. Well, now he was starting to unravel as we were getting out into the desert. So he finally just like had the complete meltdown, and he said, Desiree, I just want you to know I would never force you to have sex. And I was like, well, that's good to know, you know, but why would you even say something like that? And then he said that you must be a racist. That's the only thing that he could think of why I was not coming on to his come-ons was because I was a racist. And then I was just like silent. I didn't say anything for a while. I brewed and stewed. I was pissed off. I thought that was a really low blow. And I took great offense to it. So he went into the sleeper, and when he came out, I was very calm and very collected, and I told him, you are going to get this company in a whole bunch of trouble if this is what you're going to do when you're a trainer. And I told him, I take personal offense to you saying that the reason I'm not attracted to you is because of race. And I just said, you don't talk to people like this. This is not the way that you talk to people. And if you're going to be a trainer and it is your intention to end up going up the ladder from being a driver, a professional driver, which is what he called himself, a professional driver, then you need to act professional, and you're not acting professional. One of the things that he used to say over and over is, I got to get me a woman on this truck. I got to get me a female. I got to get me a female on this truck. He didn't see females as people. He saw them as property. It didn't seem to register in his mind that they are individuals. It was like getting a dog on the truck, and then you have the dog do what you want it to do, but it's not really, it's chattel. It's not something that you love and that you value. It's a possession, something that you own. He seemed to be really bright, but he didn't want to get past that possession, ownership, control issue. So I said, because I knew he had been approved for this trainer program, what you're doing is going to be a big, huge liability for this company if that's going to be your attitude once you start training and you get girls on this truck, that they're on this truck to be your possession, your property. You won't be training very long. And he said, well, you The way you talk, you sound like you're, the way you talk, you sound like you're probably from some rich family. You're probably, think that you're better than everybody else. And I said, no, I grew up on welfare like you did. I just made a conscious decision. I didn't want to live my life and be a fucking asshole for the rest of my life. And I started reading books, and I started taking it upon myself to learn things, even though I did not grow up in an environment where education was emphasized. So, it pissed me off, because I did grow up in Southern California. And a lot of people think, oh, Southern California, you must be, how come you're not blonde? I mean, the people have so many screwed up ideas about stuff. It's his mother's family and my mother's family, and the way that he grew up, and you know what I mean? It's like, I don't have a close-knit family. I don't have a nice family. I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up with stuff. I just made a conscious decision at a certain point in my life that I wanted to emerge from that, so I didn't become that. And it has not been easy. I also come from a multiracial family. I'm Mexican. I'm white. If you go to a family reunion, there's African American, there's Pacific Islanders, there's Filipinos, there's Mexicans, there's white people. I mean, there's everything. So, for him to start laying this bullshit on me just because he can't figure out why I'm not attracted to him just pissed me off. Because I was like, what a shallow fucking cop-out. You know, take responsibility for yourself. What you are saying is wrong. It doesn't have nothing to do with nothing else, okay? You don't talk to people like that. I'm not your property. And that was just something that he couldn't understand. He did go in the sleeper right after that moment, and he went to sleep. And then he came out, and he was very apologetic. He was like, I'm so sorry. I was so wrong for saying those things. You are so right. Everything you said, I could learn so much from you. I apologize. Please accept my apology. Please accept my apology. Please forgive me. I mean, very adamant, very convincing. But see, we'd already been doing this for 5 days, where he'd have a meltdown and then he'd apologize. So I was just going, this is manipulative behavior, what he's showing me. Now I'm starting to see why these girls left him. And it wasn't the reason that he thinks. It's because he's manipulative. At this time we were in the desert. And there, you know, and Tony was just blowing up my phone. Just going, get off that truck now. Where are you going to go? I mean, there's nothing out there but cactuses. I'm like, I'm not going to get off the truck in the middle of the desert. I ain't stupid, you know. So I said, I'm going to have to deal with this dude until we get and drop this load in the Bay Area. Prior to me saying those things to him, he would have his apology time, and then he would be very, very nice. This time was different. This time we got into the Bay Area. He broke the log rules to get to the thing. He started speeding in California. He started driving really dangerously. He was slamming the doors. He was aggravated. And so we got to the load early, and he was just agitated. And he was looking at me like, just like wanted to kill me. it was really foggy when we delivered the load in the middle of the night in the Bay Area, and I had to go to the bathroom. And usually he was really nice about me going to the bathroom, but this time he was really not nice. And he was very abusive. And he took me to this place that was like the worst part of town, to this really, really crappy neighborhood, and was like, go in there and go to the bathroom. And when I went in there, I was like, it was like unnecessary to be that much of a dick. He was just trying to be a dick. So I went in there and he goes, what's the matter? Are you afraid? Motherfucker, I've seen things you don't even want to know about. So I might look like Snow White, but pretty hard to scare me. So I went to the filthy shithole and went to the bathroom, and I got back in the truck. So then he's looking at the map about, you know, getting to our terminal in French Camp. And he's like so aggravated that he can't read them. He can't comprehend. He's angry. You can tell he's really pissed off. And I said, you know, you can... I'm from California. I know the freeway system. So I said, you know, you could go on this highway, and he... Note to self, never tell a pissed off man the right answer, or you're really gonna get it. He didn't want to hear about me knowing how to get there without the fucking map, I'll tell you that. So we get it. He's like, you have to know where you're going, don't tell me. Rawr. I was like, alright, fuck you, you know, let's get lost in the fog. We ended up at the Flying J in Lodi. It was not that far from our terminal, but he wouldn't take me to our terminal. He refused to take me to my terminal. I wanted to get off the truck by this time. The load was delivered. I was in a safe place where I could get off the truck. I wanted off the truck. And he wouldn't take me there. We were sitting there at the Lodi Flying J, and I went in to eat, and this man had struck up a conversation with me. A really nice man. He was asking me all about Covenant Transport, and he wanted to send... He was a driver, experienced driver, and he wanted to find a place to send his son. Which is important because, you know, he said, my son can drive really good, and we're going to eventually team because I got these military contracts. But he has to, and this is what I talk about, your dad cannot give you the qualified experience. So even here, this guy, his son's been driving a long time. He said, my son needs a little bit of time to be helped with his backing, but he's got to have this official experience that you got to get fed through these systems now. He said, but once he's done with that, he can team with me and blah. So we were having this conversation. Really, really nice guy. And this co-driver of mine walks in and like talks to him like, she's my property. You don't talk to her. Oh, I was really offended. I mean, if I ever wanted to tell somebody to fuck off, that would have been the day. But I was polite. I was okay. Well, it's nice talking to you. Bye. But in my head, I'm going, what kind of fucking putz are you? I'm not your property, okay? I can have a conversation with somebody. I went back to now you have to understand, I was not given any emergency numbers for my company. I did not know how to use the Qualcomm because nobody had taught me. I didn't know that you could send an emergency SOS on the Qualcomm and delete it. I didn't know how to get a hold of anybody at this time. I was just off my trainer's truck. Nobody taught me. Nobody told me if you experience a problem out there, here's a 24-hour number or emergency response number that someone answers 24 hours a day. I was never told that. So I'm just sitting there going, okay, eventually we're going to have to get close to that terminal. or something. Or maybe I'll see another Covenant driver and I can ask them for help or something like that. I didn't know what to do. I just was trying to bear with it. I had gotten up on my bunk to sleep, and he was getting more and more agitated. So he was slamming the doors, and then he would come in and start scrubbing things down and spraying all these aerosols in the truck. And I slept on the top, so all those fumes go and they accumulate up there. So I was like suffocating and stuff. But I knew he was trying to, and it was really hot. He had an APU on the truck, but he would not let me use it. He didn't want me to have any. If I said I was hot, he would make sure it was hotter. If I said I was cold, he would make sure it was colder. He was doing everything he could to antagonize me. Slamming the door, screaming, yelling. There was people, he parked on the back row where people were coming and selling, you know, perfumes and DVDs, and he would be like, co-driver, wake up! Wake up, co-driver! Come down here and see this perfume! Do you want this? Do you want to buy it? I was just like, the guy was doing everything he could to fucking piss me off. I want to be taken to our terminal. Take me to the terminal right now. And I was shaking at that point. I had also started having some nightmares. He was provoking me, and I wanted to punch him in the fucking face, but I knew if I punched him in the face, I would not have a job. I had heard of drivers losing their job after being provoked in a co-driver situation, and they lost their job and they couldn't drive anymore. In fact, there was a situation last winter, I believe, with one of the carriers where one co-driver killed the other co-driver while the guy was driving, stabbed him to death or something. I think that was with Falcon. This co-driver situations get extremely heated. You have to understand that there's a lot of people that come into trucking that do have a temper, and they do know how to carry their own weight, and they do have street smarts, and that includes the women. You know, do you want to put two people in a truck together that both have a temper, that both are willing to fight to the death? Do you? And that's where we were at. If I put my hands on him, I was going to lose my job. I was shaking. I was so fucking mad. You can drive it yourself. Fuck you. So I said, okay, I'll drive it. I'll drive the truck. So we drove down to French Camp, and I was shaking. My hand was shaking so bad. I had to get off the truck right there and right then, because I was not safe to be operating the truck with him on the truck with me. I couldn't shift. I couldn't concentrate. I needed to be off that truck, and he was making me feel unsafe, and I was feeling unsafe about how I was feeling about him.